Hello there, this is Jising So, and this is Dreaming with Cheese. If you're not familiar with what I'm doing here, I am basically eating cheese to see if I can induce dreams. Specifically, hopefully, lucid dreams, because it's been hard for me to dream lately. Now, there are things to think about while doing this, because it might be that the cheese is causing dreams, but it might also be that I am keeping track of dreams that causes me to have dreams. That might be it too. So I will be eating cheese sometimes, and then at other times not eating cheese, so that we have some sort of control data. We don't have too much of that yet because I just started this whole thing, but yeah, we'll see that at some point. I plan to keep doing this for the foreseeable future. Hopefully it's interesting. So, this week, I had a whole bunch of cheese. On the 31st, I ate some Stilton cheese and drank a glass of whole milk in the evening with no melatonin. Slept for about 5 hours. I didn't have any dreams. Oh well. On the morning of the 1st of September, I ate some Stilton cheese and drank 2 glasses of whole milk in the morning with no melatonin. I was listening to Bob Ross. I slept for about 3 hours and I don't remember a thing. Again on the 1st, in the evening, I ate some Stilton cheese, a glass of whole milk in the evening, and no melatonin. I had a box fan running. I slept for about 5 hours and woke naturally. I remember sitting in a cafeteria drinking some sort of juice that people around me described as tasting like Jetsons. If you remember that old TV show that was supposed to take place in the future where everyone had flying cars and buildings that were all up really high. If I remember correctly, a lot of them looked like the Space Needle in Seattle. The 2nd of September, I ran out of Stilton cheese and went to the store too late to get more. That happens when you're a lazy bum and you decide at the last minute to go. It happened to be closed early because it was Labor Day. Or if it wasn't Labor Day on the 2nd, because I don't keep track of these things very well, they closed for Labor Day anyhow. In the evening, I drank a glass of whole milk and took 15 milligrams of melatonin. I did not have any Stilton cheese whatsoever. I was listening to the Six Dragons 3D binaural ASMR sound assortment for relaxation by Heather Feather, and all controlled sound sources ceased after completion. I slept for about 5 hours and woke naturally. And this time, I actually had a dream. It wasn't quite lucid because I was not aware that I was dreaming. So in the dream, we were talking about when we first joined the company. From listening to their conversation, I was with 2 of my coworkers, by the way. From listening to their conversation, it appeared that they had joined the company at nearly the same time. They were trying to remember when one of them bought something in particular, but couldn't logically place it in time and memory. After this conversation, I found myself sitting in a large hall. It was very crowded. It looked a lot like a cafeteria. It looked pretty much like my cafeteria at my high school, at least the way the tables were arranged, because they were long tables and stools that were attached to the tables, right? So, yeah, we were sitting in this large hall. It was very crowded. Someone from my high school was sitting far behind me, and she asked a question. I had turned around in my stool, which was attached to the table, to watch her as she spoke. So when I want to manage contacts, I have to click all these buttons to open some programs and go through all these menus just to get to them. How did people manage before we had computers? I answered, you can get index cards at the bookstore. I thought she was being facetious since she worked at the bookstore. It's right across the street. She rolled her eyes and replied, yeah, and what am I going to keep them in? A Rolodex. They also stock them, I answered. I was sure she already knew about the physical precursors to digital address books. The lights were turned off. It was time for me and my coworkers to collect surveys from everyone. I recalled that I was taking a vacation just now, but I couldn't remember whether it was today or tomorrow. I asked my supervisor if I could simply leave now, but he told me that I was to work here until I was done. I was having trouble navigating the dark, however. For part of the time, I was crouching and waddling through the crowd. My supervisor was much better at this than I was, since he picked up most of the surveys before I could get to them. At the end, I was only able to pick up one survey. Oh well. The lights came back on. I took my seat, looking over some paperwork. Someone came and sat next to me. For some reason, he thought I was the supervisor. I was trying to figure out why that was. Maybe it was the way I carried myself. And that was my last thought before awakening. This has been marked a success. Now, since I wrote this, I changed the name of the field to Had Dream because at some point, well, actually, right here, I didn't have any cheese, so naming it a success is not very meaningful. So, yeah. The 3rd of September. I had some Stilton cheese, a glass of whole milk, and 15 milligrams of melatonin in the evening. I was listening to 3D binaural ASMR, ear-to-ear whispering about weird animal information for your relaxation by Heather Feather. I slept for about 6 hours and woke to an alarm. I vaguely remember a scrap of dream, and I have the feeling that there was a lot more, but I can't remember. I just remember having 2 desks that had a lot of random stuff piled on them. Someone was asking me about them. It all happened to be my stuff. They were concerned that it was very disorganized. This does count as having had a dream, but it's not very detailed. 4th of September. I had some Stilton cheese, a glass of whole milk, and 15 milligrams of melatonin in the evening. I was listening to an audio CD, A Childhood Remembered, which played through once and stopped, leaving me with silence for the rest of the night. Well, as much silence as I could have. Sometimes there are people outside, and they're kind of noisy sometimes. I slept for about 6 hours and woke naturally. In my dream, I was wandering a shopping area. I was looking for several things in particular, but I forgot what they were. My bad memory from real life carries over into dreams, too. In one of the stores, I was looking for some frozen food. I rummaged around in one of their refrigerator displays, reaching high on the top shelf while standing on a small stepladder. I found something that appeared to be a bag of cuttlefish. And I don't mean like cuttlefish cut into balls, like meatballs, except cuttlefish. I mean like bags of like mini cuttlefish. Yeah, they're like bite-sized cuttlefish. If I recall correctly, in real life, they're actually big. But I don't know exactly because I only eat them in ball form. The shopkeeper suggested finding the salmon or the tuna, which was further in the refrigerator. I put the cuttlefish back and looked for the salmon. I pulled out what appeared to be an anatomical model of a gargantuan lobster. in a box. The lobster was nearly as big as I was, and I can't remember how I got it from the top shelf. The shopkeeper thought it was a good buy. The people who were with me told him that I didn't want this since I couldn't even eat it. The lobster was placed back in the refrigerator. And I had a short bit that was a little vague. I was sitting in an auditorium. I had put on an advertisement for a video game. When it was done, I looked around to see people's reactions. I didn't actually see their reactions, though, because the scene shifted. I was walking on a concrete path around a building. The grass was remarkably green and well kept. I also saw a forest in a distance, probably about 500 meters ahead of me, and with a whole lot of green lawn between where I was standing and where the forest started. As I walked, I saw a groundskeeper. He was a commercial groundskeeper with circumaural hearing protectors and a reflective vest. He was playing with a tiny monkey. It was gray and probably about the same size as a spider monkey. It seemed to be a young monkey because it was pretty energetic. It was sitting on the groundskeeper's shoulder. He came up to me, the groundskeeper, and put the monkey on my right shoulder. The monkey wrapped its arm around my head, covering my eyes. I was wishing that I had a banana to feed it. I imagined that it would bite the peel and spit that bit of the peel somewhere before peeling the rest of it to consume the edible part inside. That's definitely a dream, though it doesn't count as lucid because I did not know that I was dreaming in the dream. September 5th. I had some Stilton cheese, a glass of whole milk, and 15 milligrams of melatonin with salami, and water crackers in the evening. Ambient controlled sound was silence. As in, I didn't have anything playing on my computer. I slept for about 6.5 hours and woke to an alarm. I did not recall any dreams, but I felt like I was going to remember something when I was thinking about Final Fantasy Legend, an old Game Boy game. The 6th of September. I had a nap in the afternoon. Ambient controlled sound was Silent Musical Instruments for Relaxation, ASMR, by Heather Feather. I slept for about 2.5 hours and woke naturally. There was no notion of having had any dreams. And then I went to sleep a second time in the evening. I had some Stilton cheese and a glass of whole milk with salami and water crackers in the evening without melatonin. Ambient controlled sound was ASMR, HD, Virtual Spa, and Sleep Center with Relaxation Induction, Panning by ASMR Nova Star. I slept for about 5.5 hours and woke naturally. I don't remember any dreams. So, this week, I had a few nights where I didn't have... Well, actually, I only had one night when I didn't have any cheese, and then I had a nap where I didn't have any cheese. That first night was pretty funny because I was like, I had a near lucid dream, and I didn't have any cheese, and out of all the nights to have a dream like this, it had to be the night when I didn't have any cheese. I just thought that was very, very strange. But yeah, so far, it looks like I'm getting more dreams. But I don't know if this is because I'm trying to keep track of them, or if it's because of the cheese itself. Or maybe it's the whole milk. Or maybe it's the ASMR. I have no idea. ASMR, in case you don't know, is this sensation in one's head. It's kind of like a pleasant tingling sensation. It happens with a whole bunch of things. It can be pleasant sounds. It can be It can be triggered by touch, like, I don't know, someone rubbing their hands in your hair, or it can be you're listening to really, really good music, or maybe you're watching a really powerful scene in a movie. Like, sometimes I would get something similar to this, but maybe not quite like it when I'm watching Bana di Jodi. It's an Indian movie. I don't quite remember when it was released, but during that final dance scene, I got a pleasant tingling in my head. I don't think it was quite ASMR, but it was very, very similar. Oh, what else? Oh yeah, there was also there's also another dance scene. Not a scene, but dance video. Let's see, what was it called? I had it just now. Oh yeah, the first time I saw this dance video featuring Chachi Gonzalez, Les Twins, and Smart Mark. They were dancing freestyle to his song High Pressure by Sofly. The first time I saw that music video, shoot, my head was tingling a bit. It seems to happen whenever I see something that I think is emotionally powerful, maybe, or I think is very, very artistic. I don't know. Not everybody gets it, though. So, for some people, they think it's a myth, but others will seek it out. If you look up ASMR on YouTube, you'll find lots and lots of videos that attempt to trigger that pleasant, tingly feeling in the head. And I watch lots of these. So I was looking up to see if there were any studies made on connections between cheese and dreams. It looks like there was one study done in the UK by the British Cheese Board, and this is according to the BBC. And they point out that there was no control group. So I'm going to try to make it right, because for a while I will not eat cheese, and then I'll report what happens. They think it might have been just marketing, because it was a study conducted only over a week. So we don't know if it was the cheese that caused dreams, or maybe they dreamed a lot naturally. I have no idea. They say that tryptophan is the primary chemical or substance that causes dreams. I'm wondering if I could eat chicken and get more dreams, but I'm not sure, because I've been eating chicken a lot. But I had many, many nights when I couldn't remember anything. So, and the BBC article also references an article from the Daily Mail, which as a news source isn't all that good, but oh well, if the BBC is citing it, maybe it's good to take a look at it. Basically, this article talks about that study by the British Cheese Board, and it says that this study involved 200 volunteers in a week-long experiment. They all had 20 grams of cheese 30 minutes before going to sleep. I am eating way more than 20 grams of cheese, I think. I'm also getting a scale so I could actually measure the amount of cheese I'm eating. It's not going to be that precise. It's going to measure in 5-gram increments, because I don't think precision is that important here. I'm just eating however much cheese I want. But it might be good to have a notion of how much cheese one is having. So in this study, they actually try a whole bunch of different cheese for just a week. So they have cheddar, Leicester. I might be pronouncing that wrong. But yeah, red Leicester? I don't know. British Brie. It's all British cheeses, huh? That's interesting. And cheddar, if I didn't say that already. And of course, Stilton, which people seem to say is the king of British cheeses. At some point, I'd like to try stuff like Roquefort, because I hear people, I have heard people talking about that cheese all the time. There was this one guy I talked to who, whenever I talked to him about cheese, he would never fail to mention Roquefort. So I'm going to give that a try at some point. Anyways, I hope you found this interesting. So far, I am getting more dreams, but I don't know if it's because of the cheese or if it's merely correlated. And one thing to remember is that correlation does not equal causation. But it does imply that there's some sort of connection and is probably worth looking into. So hopefully you'll listen in next time in Dreaming with Cheese. Have a good night.